got
Yeah.
my best on? Excellent. Right. Well, let's get started, shall we? Welcome, all 5 of our residents. I take this as a good sign that things are going well, so let's hope that's the case. So, welcome. I think you all know me. I'm Jackie Campbell, Assistant Director for Housing and Neighbourhoods, and I think I will know you all individually. So, we'll introduce our guests as we go along, but I think you know most people here anyway. So our first item tonight, we're going to go with our recycling colleagues, Karen and Isabel. Are going to talk about recycling in the tower, and I didn't see an exciting new bin there. So over to you to do your item.
Okay, so in the tower, we're going to have a new trial for the food waste going on. So have we got any residents from the tower? Yeah, okay, that's good. So we had a suggestion from a resident that they didn't want to store the food in the bag. From you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there we go, listen to what you're saying. So what we're going to do is put one of these into each of the shoot rooms so that you can put your food waste bags into them in between the doorstep collections. So yeah, they're just, you'll be able to see them just in the shoot room. So on every floor, so you don't have to go up and down the floors or anything.
Apart from the second floor.
Yeah, apart from the second and third. Yeah.
and third floor.
So, but all the other ones should have one. So the doorstop collections will still go ahead on Tuesday and Friday, and these will be collected at the same time as the doorstop collection. So whichever you'd rather, just so you're not keeping food in your flat all week or whatever.
Thank you very much for that. There was another suggestion that I tried to make that is trialling putting the plastic bags in the shoot room as well. If you've got enough room, have a look, see if there's enough room. 2, 3 or 4, instead of everybody having to put them outside their own doors and having to leave them there because they don't want another delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not have to come down to the library and get more. So instead of whatever it is you come down and do it, you just make sure there's 3, 4, 5 available on every landing, take them when you need it.
Would that be all right with you?
Yeah, we could do that. At the moment in time, they'd have to be left on the floor, which looks a bit messy. But if that's an exciting position for people, then we could fit something to the wall and just slot them in like a magazine.
And I asked you for a trial, if you want to make it tidy afterwards,
Yeah, we can give that
Yeah,
back.
some kind of rack or something that you can put them in.
it'd make it a lot easier for me to cook it up. Yeah.
Sure. You can do the ones where they're long ways, so you can take one and another one falls down, so you can have more in there. Yeah. We can make
If you want to get fancy.
So with this, all the residents are going to get a letter that explains about the trial with a magnet and food waste leaflet in it, just explaining again about the food waste service, what you can put in there and everything. They should be going out at some point this week.
Could you put a little note in there, please, that not only are the bins, their personal bins, available in the library with the bags,
Yeah.
if they put a note outside, your guy delivers the new one?
You wouldn't ordinarily deliver
one
the
time out.
caddies. Oh, well, for part of the trial?
Yeah, for just one time.
They may always have the bags on them. What we've done within a letter, we said you contact the
Just
site.
if somebody leaves a note outside the door, on such and such a day, they will be coming round, or the estate will be coming round and delivering to everybody who's requested for it. No, get rid of it too much. Okay.
Are you talking caddies or like?
Yes, caddies and the bags, for the people who are not doing it currently.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We can add that in if they want. And we've always got normally always got
Yeah,
supplies
some
here.
people don't like or can't get it to the library. You know,
Yeah.
other people who can.
No, we'll drop them off
Yeah.
to people, that's fine. Yeah, we'll always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the bins are going to go into the shoot rooms on Friday the 19th of February, so a week on Friday. And then, so it'll be after the collection on Friday, after the normal doorstep collection. And then, so from the next Tuesday, they'll start getting collected from the bins as well.
And for those of you living in Petticoat Square, everything will remain the same. So you still put your caddies outside your front door as you would do normally. And in the magnets say, if you are able to put it on your fridge or on your cabinets or whatever, then it tells you what can and can't go in. And it's basically all foods, cooked, uncooked, pills, bones, eggshells, plate scrapings, all of it can go in. But we do ask no liquids, so no soups, no oil, no water, no packaging, and no plastic bags. So we provide the lines for free.
What have you done about cleaning? Because I've seen that there's sealed bins. They're going to need cleaning. What have you put in place to deal with that?
Well, over the 3-week trial, assuming everyone's
Oh, it's
using...
only 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so assuming everyone's using the actual liners which we deliver to you.
Mostly.
Most.
Sealed.
Yeah, so assuming everyone uses the liners, assuming everyone ties them, which most people, from our experience, most people do tie them, and it goes in here, then they shouldn't need cleaning
Too
often. If it is becoming an issue, then we can actually just line these and we just take the liners out. But we would prefer to not have to double line everything because it's extra resources.
I want to know
Small
what you think
packages.
about it.
Yeah. So we'll start without the liner in there. See how we go, and then there's always that as an option to add in.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you're going to monitor and guide online and see
Yes.
how many are being used.
Yeah, so we're going to monitor each collection, see how many bags they've put in the bins, how many is still on the doorsteps, and then after the trial period we're going to sort of assess and see what we can do, see if it can continue or change anyway.
I think the fair measure is either getting more, whether it's on the doorstep or on the...
Yeah,
Then-
exactly. So it might be that we might need to do it longer than 3 weeks, but obviously we'll just leave it there.
Any other questions? No? Anything else from recycling? No?
Keep up the good work. Keep on recycling your food waste. If you have any questions or any queries, the Petticoat, I know Petticoat Square residents aren't going to get our leaflets or for the trials only for the Petticoat Tower, but if you have got any questions or any queries, then certainly if you email recycling at City of London, then we'll be able to assist or Paul and Paul's team
Email me, I'll let you know.
are able to answer any questions as well.
Thank you both very much
Thank you.
indeed. Thank you.
And I'll leave this here as a reminder. What's to come.
And the float in the Lord Mayor's Show is almost as good as ours.
Not quite.
Made from recycled materials, obviously.
Yes, yeah, Izzy was the, what were you, the bottle?
That's a good.
So I was dressed in plastic. So that's my glamorous lifestyle.
Thanks very much.
It's
Thanks.
good enough for Lady Gaga. It's good enough for you, Miss
Okay.
Well, good look at it like that.
No, thank you both for coming
That's
down.
fine.
We'll look after that, yeah.
For the tower. So Paul will update you later, Jane, rather than go through it again. Thank you both very much. Okay, right. I'm afraid you can completely disregard your agenda because we're moving around the order of things to allow people who need to go early, which is absolutely fine. So next we've got Layla here, who you know well, and Melanie, who is Layla's line manager, and they're here to talk about the landscaping project.
Can you all see
our
it?
Layla?
Yeah. So because when the room isn't full, for some reason you always have something quality back in there. It's one way to agency. So this is Melanie, who is now taking over from Clarice on this programme of works.
Thank you.
We're not going to update you today just on Outstand Street. We are updating you on the wider programme of improvements for Middlesex Street. And Melanie is the lead for this wider programme. So I'm going to hand it over to Melanie, who's going to update you on one of the phases, which is called Phase 1. And I'm now responsible for the two other phases, one of which is Outstand Street, and the other one is the Petticoat Lane Market regeneration of the stores. So I'll pass over to Melanie first, and then I'll update you on Outstand Street. Okay, we'll do
That's it there.
That's it.
Just if it works.
Do you know how to work at all? I haven't.
It's plugged into the science, it should be.
So, project manager for this scheme actually couldn't make it today, so I've got an overview of all three phases, so I'll do my best to update you. This is the western end of Middlesex Street. So we've got Bishopsgate here, and then Middlesex Street, and then these two triangular spaces are traffic islands at the moment. and then there's Wygate Street. So the project encompasses that whole area, and also a bit of lighting improvements over at Rose Alley, and a bit of resurfacing on Sammy's Row as well. So it was first envisaged way back in 2013, and I don't know if some of you might remember there was a consultation then, it's a while back. But there were some ideas on how this area could be improved, and so the main objectives are to improve the pedestrian environment. At the moment, there's lots of ups and downs and curbs and parking around this traffic island and the one adjacent to it. And here on Wygate Street in particular, the pavement's very narrow, so people end up walking in the street, and when there are vehicles, there's conflict. And it's actually quite a nice little shopping street, so we want to try and look at methods for improving the pedestrian environment primarily, but also looking at other users in the area. So we've got the market on Sundays that need to be accommodated, plus all the parking needs to be shifted around, so we don't want an overall loss of parking. So this is the existing situation, taken from an overhead view. So we've got the traffic island spaces here, and we've got Wygate Street here. And I'll just talk briefly through the proposals. So what we're planning on doing is these two traffic islands, we're going to unify them by raising up the paving levels. So instead of all the curbs up and down, it's all one surface with one single material. And the parking that was around the traffic islands will be shifted out and moved mostly onto Middlesex Street, where there's quite a bit of space. And that enables us to make those two island spaces more into like mini public spaces, so the shops would go directly onto the paving area. We've got space to plant also a couple of trees and a little bit of seating, but we don't want to overdo the seating. There's already a couple of benches there, so we'll be replacing it with other seating, other benches, but not increasing the overall numbers. So the main idea is just to make it more walkable, more easy to use, and also for the shops and restaurants around it to be more connected with the pavements, so, and also more accessible for wheelchairs, etc. And over on Wygate Street here, the carriageway that you saw before with the narrow pavements, we're going to raise that carriageway up and resurface it in a granite, so it'll be quite high quality finish, which is good because it's a conservation area. And that will be all single surface then. And to reduce the conflict with vehicles, we're going to make it a timed closure, so no vehicles between 7 AM and 7 PM. And we've done some consultation locally, mostly with the shopkeepers and the occupiers above, and they're quite supportive of that because they can see the benefits. I don't know if any of you know streets like Bow Lane in the city, or Cheapside, places like that, where it's much more pedestrian friendly during the daytime, and then servicing happens either early in the morning or in the evening, or from. There's quite a lot of space on Middlesex Street where vehicles can park, so it's one way, and offload and trolley goods in, so less conflict. And the main benefits, as I said, are for pedestrians, including wheelchair users, pram users. So it will be single surface, quite simple, nothing fancy. The materials will be to match the existing, so we're already in there. We've got loads of Yorkstone, it's a conservation area, so we'll put that more Yorkstone, and the granite also is in keeping with the conservation area. So just quickly, we've done this local consultation in January, just to update people because the previous consultation was a few years ago. And that's just with local occupiers. And then in February we're going to consult all the traffic orders, and that's what we need to make the street 7 to 7 closure and shift around the parking bays, although no overall loss of parking bays. We've also been talking to the market, who are supportive because it kind of relates to their market use and more pedestrian-friendly area. And local ward members and occupiers are generally positive. We also identified funding, which is from Section 106, which is a development over on Bishopsgate, which will provide the funding, so it's externally funded. And so the aim, all being well, is to start on site in June. And it will be phased because we need to work around the occupiers and not close any streets while we're working. So it will be phased over about a 6-month period to limit disruption, so we can keep the shops accessible, etc. That was the main update really, so if anyone's got any questions, I can do my best to answer.
Are the plans still up on the website? The latest updates?
Website, good question. I'm not sure if we have updated the website. I need to check that. But if we
Our
have,
website on the housing page.
No, you always do.
The one about, so that's the traffic one, isn't it? Traffic page.
yeah, I'm not sure about the website. The project manager couldn't be here today, so I'll check with her.
Because it used to be
tomorrow.
up there when you first did it 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm wondering if it's been updated since.
I don't think we've updated the website, but we do need to. So we do.
If
I'll
it
let you
is-
know when it's
If it is,
live.
please publish it in the notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a really good point.
Can you go back to one of the pictures, please? The one, that one.
Yeah.
This might interest you because it's to do with history. But as part of my First World War research, I often see pictures of somewhere that was described as a hostel for soldiers leaving for the Western Front. And they used to go on the train out of Liverpool Street. And I've seen in the very old newspapers these little sort of pictures, and I've thought to myself, I wonder where that was in Middlesex Street. And as I'm looking at the picture, it's actually the building that is in that kind of thin little sliver where the white car is, and then like this little V shape here. It's that building, the building that was the hostel for First World War soldiers. I'm pretty sure that's where it must have been, and as I looked at your picture, I thought that's where that building was. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on to do with the First World War commemoration at the moment. It might be worth checking I don't know if the corporation has history people, kind of like local historians and so on, and just saying to them that there's a connection to the First World War at that building.
We did do an information point. There's a sign at the end of Middlesex Street about the market and the history of the market.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, that was done a few years ago. That would have been a good bit of information to include. So,
Because it's very current and there's a lot of interest in the First World War.
I mean, we could look at putting a plaque on that building if there is,
Yeah.
if we do
We
find
do need
the
to
exact
look
That is the
information.
one, yes. It's
Yeah.
just, it was an unusual shape,
I
the
don't know.
original hostel. And as I was looking at that, I thought, that building looks just like the one that's in the papers, saying that it's a hostel for soldiers leaving for the Western Front.
well, we are reviewing signage in the city at the moment, and I know the market are keen to get better signage to increase the traffic, but we can look at that as one of those options. Yeah. That's good.
Any other questions on just on that page?
Just about the telephone boxes are there and image. I assume you'll be putting those things in if you're putting them in at all.
The post box is going to stay.
Did I say post box?
I
Or did
know
I say
you said
box?
telephone boxes, yeah. I think there's one on the island. I'm
Yeah,
going to,
there's 3 I thought.
yeah,
Last time I went past.
that might be a
There are
bit
3 in
excessive.
there.
Yeah.
Last time I went past, but
How come we can't see them? Is it tucked
Maybe
They're in
around
the corner.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, if they're underused, we'll try and shift
I
them
don't
out.
think they're underused. Not if they put that 3 there over the years.
Yeah, sometimes they're just.
or adverts because they generate a lot of money?
Yeah, rather than.
That's right by Subway, isn't it? Is that by Subway sandwich shop? That because I don't think that's a normal post box. I think it's a business post box because it's not one I think where you can put. Because I've never put my letters in there. I look up to Bishopsgate. I think it's like a business one where you can
Or
like
metered mailbox?
something like that. It's not like a normal post box. Otherwise, I would put my letters in.
Sorry, you're looking at the first thing, the second one's got
Second
3.
one.
It's got 3 telephone boxes.
What we do is we contact the telephone company and check on the usage. And if it's not used very much, we try and encourage them to move them. But I don't think we've got any power to make them move them. So.
I mean, we can if we pay them, but that's a lot of
That's
money.
another issue, yeah.
It's quite costly because they say that they're losing on revenue from marketing and
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
not what the men.
Maybe we could lose 1 out of the 3.
No, I was just asking if we were keeping them because
Yeah.
from what you were saying, it might make an effect to the market and the people outside the shop. So I can get the payment, I can't.
Yeah, we'll definitely review it, see what the usage is, and look at the options for either
And
shifting
what about
them.
bins?
Bins, if there's existing bins, they'd stay, but have you seen the big belly bins?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The soda ones.
yeah, so if we've got budget for that, we'd look at putting one of those in, because those are preferred.
Some people seem to use the benches outside Subway as a kind of bin. If you walk past the benches, they've got like cups and
Yeah,
plates and bits of stuff all.
yeah, so maybe there's a need then for a big belly bin.
Mm.
Or there's also a need to speak to cleansing, so they speak to Subway to say once in a while they can go outside, because it's clearly it's related rubbish to their activity.
Because there's not much space to sit in Subway, so a lot of people come and sit on the benches outside and then they walk away and leave it on the bench. In the little tiny street on the left-hand side, something that seems to happen, and this is something to do with licensing and so on, is this kind of like a pub or some drinking place down there. And when the weather's nice, there's so many people standing outside it drinking that they're actually all the way up and down the road. And if traffic comes, then it always starts to cause a terrible problem with people honking horns and trying to get the drinkers to move out of the road. They kind of like spill out. There's a pub down that road. It's a,
Yeah, there is.
a bar or something. Isn't
No,
it?
they're closing it between 7 and 7, so it's supposed to be on that point.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, on Whitegate Street,
yeah. So there'd be less conflict with pedestrians and vehicles in the daytime.
That's true.
Generally, what we tend to find is even with the 7 to 7 closure, people get into a habit of servicing from Middlesex Street in particular instead. Just wheeling stuff down rather than struggling down with big vans, etc.
And also the street will look a lot more pedestrian friendly, so if there is a car after 7 and you still have drinkers right in the middle of the road, it feels more pedestrian. And so the priority is more for the, compared to the car just zooming down.
No, that's true.
Okay, thank you. Max,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to sit because I'm lazier. So quickly on phase 2. Phase 2 is just regeneration of the market. I don't know much of it just yet because I've only just taken over that bit. But the aim for this project is to develop a whole new identity for the market and possibly give a new branding to the stores. So there's going to be a lot of ongoing discussion with the store holders, with our licensing staff, and also with Tower Hamlets. So it's very early. It's the last phase really of this improvement works programme. But as and when I've got updates and we're progressing, then I'll let you know. All I know is we will probably consult on some proposals with the markets in the summer. So that's what we're working towards.
So this is the Sunday market?
Yes, the Petticoat Lane market, Sunday market, yes.
Something that's been lost there is the closure of the little cafe underneath the stairs. I know that was because those people didn't continue the tenancy, and it's all sort of like complicated stuff that I don't know about. But something that I find people have asked me on a Sunday when they've got little children with them and they've come to the market.
Yeah.
They say, is there somewhere nice we can sit down with our children to have like a little drink? And I'm racking my brains about whether it's nice to take children for a drink in Middlesex at the Petticoat Lane market.
When a new person goes into there, it will still be a food outlet place. So when a new person goes in there, it will be a food outlet place. So if they're willing to open on a Sunday, there might be a place for people to go.
And you've got the all-day cafe coming up soon.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That'll
that's
come up.
true. That is true. I mean, it's early on, and it's not just looking at the stores. We're trying to have a more strategic view, so it will include how to better signpost the market and increase its visibility and awareness of in the area, but wider than the area. Can we do events there to promote it? Things like this. Does it need more animation, like encouraging businesses to open on a Sunday, and probably a better use of the existing shops alongside there. So, for instance, something that's family orientated. But all this is very early. We've only had a feasibility study at the moment, looking at just very high-level options. It hasn't been very detailed just yet. So we just.
Something that does happen is if you go out on a Saturday up and down Middlesex Street, how many foreigners you find walking around with a map and I say, can I help you with directions? And they say, yes, we're looking for the market. And I say, I'm sorry, it's only on a Sunday. And it's as if there's kind of this folklore that
This is the point.
Market going on.
This is the point of this actual phase, is that for some reason, even outside London, the Petticoat Lane market has got a very good reputation and history that people are aware of, and even foreigners. And it's just to give it back its glory in that way. So that's what we'll be working on, yeah.
Now,
find they're looking for Spitalfields market.
Oh, people are, yes, often looking for
That's
Spitalfields
right,
market.
That's very popular.
But what we'll try to avoid is to go full-on gentrification like Spitalfields. We would want to avoid, yeah, that's the danger. We don't necessarily want that because then it loses a bit of its original character. So,
But it's the monopoly of one type of shop, isn't it? That's the only thing.
yeah.
It's not diverse because it's just the same material shops and they are all the same.
Yeah. And that's what we will try and do,
Yeah.
is discuss with them and see if we can diverse the
Yeah.
available supplies, because they all seem to sell the same thing at
Exactly.
someone end and then
Yes.
everyone the same.
Yeah.
So
On,
yeah.
on at the Sunday market.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about it not being diverse. What we could do with is stalls that are not clothing.
Mhm.
I mean, if I'm looking for a cheap dress, then having so many stalls with cheap dresses, that's great.
Mm.
But sometimes I think to myself, oh, I'd like to buy some teacups or a kettle or something. And people tell me that 20 years ago there used to be stalls in Petticoat Lane that had things
Yeah.
like that.
stores,
Yeah.
everything there. I grew up in
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounded so much better,
It's
and
all
now
gone.
it's...
Used to be Kossos, there used to be a delicatessen, there used to be hardware store. You could buy everything. Haberdashery, and there's nothing there now.
Yeah.
And it's the worst market. I know visitors, I used to work in a hotel, and they'd come back and they'd say, never going there again.
Yeah.
Because it's just rubbish stores, rubbish shops, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope this
Yeah.
regenerates and brings it back to life.
Yeah, and with some research will go into it, and then obviously as and when we update you, you can give us more ideas as we progress it. So back to Artisan Street, which is called Phase 3, for some reason. Here you go. So I always start off because I always think that it might be the one person that hasn't been involved since the past 12 months. Is there anyone in the room that hasn't or doesn't know anything about the redesign of Artisan Street? That's good to know, so I'll go a little bit faster on this. So we keep forgetting that's how it used to look like. And then where we are now in the process is, obviously we've demolished the ramps, we've done a few workshops, identified issues, defined aspirations for the new space. We had two options that we then appraised with those of you who attended the workshops. And we identified a preferred design. We went to a statewide consultation, and Greg told me I'll send it to him. He's put on Facebook all the information for those who couldn't come to the public consultation, so you have a lot more detail than what I'm going to say today. And at the moment where we are now is the tricky bit, is the how are we going to build all of this? This is the stage we are now. And we're going to committee in April instead of February, as we wanted originally to go to February committee, purely because there's too much technical details that needed a bit more time to sort out, particularly with liaising with London Underground. So that's where we are now. The designs still respond to all of the aspirations and all the issues that were identified, but just to recap, the entrance to the tower will be the focal point. We're going to improve lighting. We're going to create a significant piece of greenery. It's going to become a really green space, and probably the greenest space in this area. There may be some mosaic, but not as bright as what we originally suggested. And the idea is that it feels more residential at the entrance of the tower, and then opens up into a more public space going towards White Kent Street. So this hasn't changed, and the design hasn't changed that much. So just to refresh your memory, this is what we're working towards. Now, the trellises, we're thinking maybe of a different material than corten, purely because we end up with corten pretty much everywhere now, and it's very expensive, and to supply, not even fit the corten, is going to be in the range of £100,000. So at some point we have to think, is that really worth it, or is there another way that we can deliver a same you know, quality finish and something that is as pretty. So we've got a few ideas I'm going to talk you through. So from this angle, we're still working towards the same thing. Probably some mosaics, but just a few in between the planting. And instead of 3, it'll be 2 along there. So we will achieve that level of greenery. And the good news is we've engaged with open spaces, and they are happy to get involved in the planting, also in the maintenance, because there are plans to be consulted on, I think, with housing and yourselves and the residents on the wider estate on making the area highways. So one tricky thing for us was to make sure that open spaces would be happy to maintain this area even when the money runs out for maintenance. So we have a lump sum, as you know, in the budget to cover maintenance costs. But it's after that, are they still happy? Do they think it's maintainable? So there was the issue, is it too wide, too big, too high? So we looked at all of that, and they've come back and they're positive and they're supportive of it. So that was a very good news.
What is open spaces?
The city's open spaces department. So they maintain all the greenery across the city and the parks that you have in London, like Hampstead Heath and West Ham Park.
So it's the city gardens?
The city gardens people, yes, yeah. So instead of being the usual estate contractor that maintains any greenery you have on the estate, it will be open spaces. And they're good. They're very good at planting and replanting at least once a year and all that. So it's quite exciting for them as well, because it's a bit more fun than the usual tiny little planters they've got to work with. So this is a night montage as well that we showed you in public consultation. So the idea is to provide some lower level lighting that guides you through to the entrance. And just by providing that, it feels a bit more private rather than the usual utilitarian, you know, lighting you've got from the typical highways thing. And on this side, it'll be the usual highways lighting, which we already have there. But we'll just improve them with LEDs, so they're a bit brighter and they're more economical. And then the other idea is to light up this tower. For some reason, the little blue, because I think that was a suggestion from you, Jane, to light up in light blue colour this tower. Was it you?
I don't know, I remember us talking about it.
There were a few residents that it would be nice to have a different lighting on this side to draw a bit more attention to it. So that will be a soft blue going up the stairwell there.
I thought one of your pictures did show it as blue.
Yeah, but for some reason on here it doesn't show as blue. Oh! Yeah, so... and then the proposed, nothing is set in stone, but the proposed entrance, the idea is that the sign will be lit as well, and the sides will be lit, and the entrance itself will be lit. So the brief talking to residents who attended was, we want something wide enough so we don't get wet when we're looking for our keys, but also that's well lit so it feels safer. So the other thing is, it'll be a lot more visible. If people come in a cab on White Kennedy Street, you will see a lot more the entrance with this lit entrance, and the sign being lit as well, which was another request from many of the residents who came. In terms of this hasn't changed. We've done the consultation with the local occupiers, so what we've been... Oh, yes, sure.
Can I make a comment?
Shall I go back?
No, about your consultation. Can you tell me who you consulted with and why?
Oh, this.
Yeah.
We went to talk to the occupiers along White Kennedy Street.
Yeah, the shops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're mostly bars and...
Yeah. You mean the ones who use the car park and don't park in the street? You consulted people who don't use that parking area.
Exactly, yeah, just...
So
Because
I commented the problem is residential deliveries, and I'm wondering why you consulted the shops. You
Residential
should be,
deliveries.
yes, because that's where they park. The delivery companies, the parcel delivery companies,
Yeah.
park all day long to deliver to the residents.
To deliver where? On the...
To the town, to the
Okay.
square.
Okay.
So I can't understand why you consulted with the shops who don't park there, who park in the car park.
Okay. Hold that thought. we're making everybody happy, first of all, because this is only being used, so this is an inset bay like they've done over on Houndsditch. If you walk up Houndsditch, you'll see a similar, what we call inset bay. And it looks neat, and it's not going to be used by any of the other, so the bars and piazzetta are not going to use this. This is mostly for the post office, and not even for their red vans, because their red vans to collect the post can stop anywhere they want, and they usually don't even bother parking, they stop, they go out, come back in. But it's for the cash collection, and that doesn't happen a lot today. So this bay can take 2 of these small vans or 1 long van, and that's going to be available a lot of the time for alternative deliveries. This is going to be usable by other delivery companies, including those private parcel force, you name it. They'll be able to use that. Piazzetta, they're just lazy, and that's an enforcement issue that we're liaising with housing on, and with our own parking enforcement people. The building block opposite, they do all their deliveries at the back, so they don't do any deliveries on Whitecomb Street. The pub, I forgot the name of that pub there, was opposite the post office.
It's just a challenge.
Yeah, they've got an inside bay as well, which they're an inside car park where they do their deliveries from along Whitecomb Street further up. So they're not using it. Eat are not using it. So this bay is probably going to be used for residential deliveries.
What about people parking there? Is there going to be any red lines or anything? Because people just sit there all day.
This is
It's a parking bay.
this is an initial montage to give you an aspiration. Yes, there will be yellow lines, there'll be a sign, there'll be something saying this is on purely for loading, unloading, and parking, etc. Now, yes, people have chances in life, and they will go there, and they will stop there, and they will camp there, and then that becomes an enforcement issue, which we will deal with. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yes, it will be double yellow and be signed properly. And, yeah.
Have you spoken to Travel Lodge?
About
Okay.
the deliveries, yeah, they do them at the other side.
Yeah, but they won't be able to when you take away that paved areas and raise the pavement and not put parking in Artisan Street. They quite often can't get to their front door because of parking.
No, they didn't, yeah.
Did you
Because
speak to them?
Harrow Place, yeah, because Harrow Place is quite big, but we didn't speak to the people there, we spoke to people at head office. We send them the plans.
Yeah, well, they don't know that their linen lorry, which is 40 foot long, parked in Artisan Street nearly every time because they can't park outside the front.
On Harrow Place they can't?
No.
No? You noticed that? Oh, what, it's a massive lorry that needs to... Yeah, but then they wouldn't do deliveries from here either, would they? That's too far from their entrance.
No, that side of Artisan Street, that side.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
They should turn it to the estate, they generally park on the curb and park on the road, and
That's right.
get everything off and get everything back in, and they go.
We need
If
to
you
look at
haven't
that.
spoken to them, it's going to be a
Well, yeah,
problem.
because there are plans to increase the motorcycle bay there, so...
In more fun for them not being up to park.
Yeah, so we need to look at that. Okay, well, look into it and speak to the people at the front desk there rather than the head office, yeah? Okay.
You said
Yes.
that parcel deliveries and so on, that this might be a way that they can stop in.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a bit of confusion with some of the parcel delivery people, because somebody was trying to deliver something to me recently and kept pressing the buttons at Petticoat Tower. I mean, it's nobody's fault, and in the end it didn't get delivered, and it's only when I said, well, where's my parcel? And they said, oh, the man was going to Petticoat Tower, because he didn't know it wasn't one in the same building.
Well, that's because the bad, silly way, the City of London designated the address on this estate, and it still happens. Petticoat Tower, Petticoat Square, Middlesex Street. So they see Petticoat Square and spend the next half hour going looking for it. I've repeatedly asked for that to be changed and altered, and just got blockage of it. Especially as the modern computerised address labels that are printed only say Petticoat Tower, Petticoat Square. Don't even say Middlesex Street. It should be Petticoat Tower, Artisan Street. And then there won't be any confusion and then try and go into our Harrow Place. I've repeatedly asked for that and I've been blocked. It can't be done. Yeah, really.
Okay, well, I can look into it. I really don't know at the city who deals with that, but we can try and
There's
find out.
lots of specific departments that deal with that. Each one of them, there's 3 departments that could request it to be done. Each one of them has the right to do it. Nobody in housing knows how to be done. They
And
write to
because
us.
now Middlesex Street doesn't have an entrance.
That's right.
Yeah.
As soon as they did it, I asked them to
That's
change
right.
it. Oh no, it can't be done.
I thought my address was Harrow Place, because that's where my entrance
That's right.
is.
Yeah.
And I
But
thought
it's
it was
absolutely
Middlesex
ridiculous
Street.
that Petticoat Tower is still called
We
Middlesex
don't
Street.
know, we don't know.
No,
But we
Right,
will do
okay.
some digging and
Yeah, that's
find out.
something that we can work on, but it's not going to happen overnight, exactly. Yeah, and probably someone, I'm
If
sure
I
it's
go and look
possible.
at my notes, I could find which 3 departments are doing it. I'm quite sure you can find it without me looking.
Oh, well, actually, that will make things easier, so
I'll
you've
go
got
and
my
find it.
email, you could, if you can dig it out, that'd be really helpful.
But by the little gate, can you put like a little map on a stick that sort of shows that Petticoat Tower here is and that the square is kind of like round
Well-
here, so they know that if they've got a delivery for certain places that they're better off going down one of the other streets and
Well,
not stopping there?
it wasn't, this is a montage view, so it's not exactly how it's going to look like, but the idea was that there was an opportunity for signage here.
Okay.
So it will signpost the Petticoat Tower. We'll discuss that in more details when we actually produce the sign, but it could be that we can signpost, I don't know, the other side of Harrow Place, or I don't know. We'll need to agree what we put on that sign.
Because
Well,
you
we
see
can
where
improve
you've
it.
got the old Sand Library there, and then you've got the City of London crest.
Yeah,
You could have Petticoat Towers with an arrow. So when they drive up, they can see that. So they know that they've come to the right address.
And there would be the library below it as well.
Yeah.
well, initially that's what we wanted, so it was a bit more visible, it was to have a sign on top.
You
That's
can
the
make
plan.
it smaller and put Petticoat Tower
Yeah.
that way, library.
Yeah. Yeah, well, either side, so one side says library,
The
other
left-hand
side
side
says...
might not be visible properly, but you can see that and you can check it.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing we can think about when we discuss. I mean, to be honest, this will be the last thing coming in when we start building.
Just
So
a bit of fun.
we've got a bit of time to think about it, but it's a good point. Okay, he's unconscious of time, so this hasn't changed, we're still hoping, but I need to now look at this issue that you've brought up.
Because the lorries...
Park on the right.
So where is it? You say here? Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
no,
it's
still-
hard
no,
where
it's
the
still
car's
parked
going
there,
out.
but it wouldn't be
It
best
looks,
practice, would
it
it?
looks
Yeah.
as if they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
If you've got the yellow line down it still, then that would say to them, okay, I can park there.
Then they would still ignore the yellow
Oh,
lines.
they will,
Yeah.
But
they
yeah,
will be
The
done with
deliveries,
the
they're
other
They say no, they could be there.
Could you not put little bars along there
one.
to stop parking?
Well, the whole point of having this one level surface is to...
I understand that it's still encouraging people to park
We could
there.
have a couple of bollards, but not, not have a whole...
No, exactly, 2 or 3 to stop
To stop a big vehicle parking there,
On the
yeah.
pavement. No, you're not going to stop them parking there, we don't want them on the pavement.
Yeah.
But then if they park in the road park, then any cars that are coming
Yeah,
up
they can't
or
get-
going
yeah,
through,
especially
they're
Sunday.
gonna be-
There's
Sunday market.
It's not they don't try to avoid it, because and they're only there 20 minutes, I'm worried about them being moved into Harrow Place.
Mm.
That's the
Okay,
problem.
so what were you saying? Sorry?
But special Sunday market, more people are parking their trailers.
That's right.
Where do they park?
There and the other side, and Matt
Well,
has
yeah.
them down to,
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And
Well,
Well,
there's
again,
also
that's an
park.
enforcement, that's an enforcement
Yeah, well,
issue.
Yeah.
most of it's in the estate, and Met haven't visited in weeks, the site requests.
Who have you spoken to?
Paul Richardson.
Okay. To what, to get these
To
people
Met
from?
to come down, yeah.
Well,
That's
this
what
is,
you
this
get
is
as
our
well, to let
department.
it come down by
Paul-
another day.
Paul has
That's what
moved,
you
yeah.
get as well about it.
We'll ask them to patrol on Sunday, see if we can catch people out there.
We have asked them.
Yeah.
We have asked, and we'll ask if they have been, what they've seen, and so on and so forth.
How many tickets are issued, because
Oh, cool.
I could video every week the
Well,
same
we can
deal.
get ticket inspectors to come.
You
Oh,
can't
I
sit on
told
the
them,
same.
I called them 2 times. We never did. I called them 2 times. Some people are parking inside the ground floor without ticket.
And some people are parking in the
When the
basement
gates
without
aren't,
ticket.
on a Sunday particularly, if the gates are
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
they
Oh, they follow you in as well.
follow you
And
in
you
town.
head out in the car and you say no.
I don't understand.
yeah.
Some people they have a good ticket
Yeah.
and they go register the car, they go inside at parking
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Yeah, Sundays is the day.
We
when they-
on Andrew,
Yeah.
we took the picture of the car and everything. The man come every Sunday free.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something for us to deal with rather than later. So
Yeah.
we've got to check.
Well,
Yeah,
it's actually a collaborative effort because it's
Yeah.
also with markets and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, the enforcement piece.
yeah, the enforcement, yeah.
Just outside the travel lodge,
Yeah.
there is enough parking space for 2 cars, because I see people parking there,
Yeah.
getting there. Why can't you make that particular area for loading and unloading, so people can't park their cars? And that is the travel lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the issue is this is planned to become a wider, what do you call it, motorcycle parking bay.
What, outside travel lodge?
Opposite.
No, but that's on the opposite side of the road.
But we could look at it, but what we have to be careful of is remove it. You're already complaining about the illegal parking of, you know, motorcycles right in front of the library, etc. around there.
Well, that's stopped now that you put the yellow light.
No, there's still I got
Yeah, there's
pictures.
still-
I got pictures.
Oh, well,
Yes, yeah.
It's one or two
I've
that have done it,
noticed
not a
it.
lot.
No, I got
It's
pictures.
not as much.
They
but
come
still
from
happens.
market, they're parking there.
Oh,
I got pictures. I can show you the van every Sunday. They do it.
And if we were to do what you're saying, we probably would need to remove some of the motorcycle parking there.
But they do park there, I've seen them
On
park
Sundays,
unloading.
on a Sunday
Yes.
night, the linen, that linen, like parks right
Yeah.
outside.
Day
It's
night,
Sunday.
day night.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
it's
the
Sunday.
other days, well,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, the other days,
That's right, because there's
Yeah.
people parking their cars
Yeah.
there.
Okay, well,
And it
look
would
into
encourage
it.
people to get, to be quite honest with you, get tickets to park in the garage, and then there's more revenue, because they can come into the library, buy the ticket for a couple of days or whatever, and then they're parking legally, and then there's still a space outside the library for the delivery people to use.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, we'll speak with Paul outside of this meeting, if you don't mind, and I'll
Yeah.
carry on and move on. I don't know
With
what
the
I've done.
flowers, are
I've
they
done
going
something.
Are they going to plant the flowers in a way that as the
So
spring
I'm coming
comes-
to that,
Just
Jen.
what-
I'll come to that. You're getting excited.
No,
Me too, don't
it's
worry.
my beginning.
Okay, the other thing was the ramp. The ramp, you remember, structurally very difficult to remove. All the stuff that's highlighted in yellow, very easy to remove.
Can't see yellow.
In yellow because, yeah, it's blue. Anything that's in the middle is difficult to remove. So, for those who attended the public consultation, we had 3 different options. One which was structurally quite difficult, but increased the visibility of the tower from White Kent Street. And that was option 1. And this is very risky. This was a very risky option, in all fairness, and quite expensive as well. This we called it the rockery, so it's just to keep the slope but create some greenery opportunities. And this one is a terraced option, and that was the preferred option. But with loads, actually at least five people that said, why don't you just carry on this with the other planting you've got on the other
Yeah.
side?
That's right.
So it's all going to now look uniform and it continues. So all this front will probably be curtained and that will continue in front of the tower and they will create a bit of an island outside the tower, if that makes sense.
Too much height on it.
No, there won't be too much height on it for safety reason, and there will need to be some kind of rail guard at the top to prevent drunk people climbing up and going over. So yeah, we've got all these in mind when we're finalising the design. I'm sorry this looks a bit small, but that gives you, a bird's eye view of how it would look like and how much greenery you're actually getting out of this, which is one, good for pollution, and opportunities for planting is a lot more exciting because we can put loads of different types of flowers. So that's everything that's going to be green, and that's actually quite a lot of greenery. All the curtain contours will go around and will continue here, but on this side, because we want to maintain this as a highway to encourage people so they realise, oh, this is the bit where I cut through, not this bit, but this bit. This is not going to be called anything, it'll just be plain, rendered, simple. Yeah? That's just it's what we call elevations. So this is how it's going to look like. So the quarter, can you see at the bottom here? Where I'm pointing. It's a bit small, sorry. But nothing's changed, it's just a different view of how it would look like. And this is the hotel side, where we'll have greeneries between the windows there. And this is the eastern facade with all the planting there. Okay? So you mentioned earlier alternative materials for the trellises, and this is something we're considering, but not grey, because I told the architect, you don't want steel, you don't want grey, fed up with the grey. So I'm sorry, it looks a bit grey, but it's actually supposed to look a bit sagey green. And that's a cheaper material than this corten here. So we will look into that. We'll do like last time, we'll probably leave some samples in the library and tell you if you want to have a look at the samples. And that you've seen already, that's the corten we're suggesting. So the idea is at low level you have corten, at the top you'll have a different painted steel material, which will probably tie in with the tower entrance. Yeah? So that's a perspective of the tower entrance. It's sketchy, it's not exactly how it's going to look like, but you'll have a sign at the top, wide enough for enough cover, it'll be lit, and then the type of font we can discuss in more details when we come to it. But we can have fun then, or we can stay very conservative and simple. And here's the part of dinner. So these are actually pictures from the Barbican, and a few residents actually mentioned this idea of having this type of planting, which actually is quite successful and would work really well in that area, given the position and the, what do you call it?
Same kind of constraints with the shallow planters.
The shallow, the shallowness I was about to say. No, that doesn't exist, yeah. So yeah, the lack of depth for a planter, etc. So this is really good type of planting for that area. But again, that is the thing that comes out last, so comes in last, so we've got time. And we did say we will involve whoever is interested in the planting design. So via the newsletter we'll promote the opportunities. And the vertical planting, nothing's changed. It'll be cables, but they'll probably be the same colour as the trellises. So the idea is we have trellises, anything vertical in one colour, and the canopy in one colour. Everything at low level is going to be corten. Yeah? And we'll try not to go for the same blue as the front door. I think we've established that. So that's it really. So as I said, coming to approval April. We're working on construction preparation at the moment and the phasing. And May, or if we can't, it'll be June. But yeah, the main issue we've got at the moment is confirming that we can do the works the way we want to do the works. And it does involve some liaison with London Underground because of the tunnel that runs right by the hotel, and it's actually trickier than we thought. Any questions?
Mr. Richardson, do you still agree that there's been subsidence in Artisan Street?
Someone
Oh,
say?
oh, you mean Artisan Street's quite large, weren't you?
Remember where I pointed out to you that that's sunk?
Oh, where the
To the left, to the right in front of
with the drain.
To the right in front of me,
Where you go out of the entrance here,
Yeah.
to the right hand side.
yeah.
It looks like there's some movement, yeah, but as we said, once the projects take off, that will
But
accommodate
the
that.
point is that I think that movement is because of the way they've infilled and not put sufficient, whatever you call it, concrete across the top. I have mentioned it to you before.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's taken us a lot longer, because we have very little information as to how those people that we've moved the ramps have then infilled, so we don't know how much depth they've put, how much concrete they've put on, and how they've cut the concrete. If they've blocked one of the old drains, can we still use that drain?
The drain never worked, so whether they blocked it or not.
Yeah, but to be there is good for us because it means we don't have to do another one somewhere else, particularly where everywhere is underground car parks. I don't know how we can dig with 5 metre drop shaft.
I'll put some videos of it back up and you can have a look.
Yeah, that would be useful. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. It's not, yeah, but this is all covered by the project. There's not going to be any ponding. and there's not going to be any dodgy concrete. If there is, it'll be hidden at the top, and on the pavement it'll be all paved. So, yeah, fingers crossed. Any
Are the
questions?
working hours going to fit in well with the traffic going back and forth? Because sometimes it gets quite busy outside the travel lodge. I don't mean the lorry, but
For
particularly...
what, sorry? During the works?
When they're doing the works, what hours are they going to work? And are they going to have like trucks and things?
There's
to take
standard city hours, which is 8 till 12 and then 2 till 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the quiet time is usually over lunchtime.
over lunchtime because of nearby offices.
Will they do weekends as well, or just the week?
Residential area we tend not to, but if it's to minimise, for instance, particularly on Harrow Place, if we want to minimise disruption in the access to the down car park and the ground floor car park, we will probably work weekends, that kind of stuff. But when we have a phasing plan, we will communicate it. But Ryanese, our town contractor, they're used to that. They know what they're doing. They always maintain access as best as possible. Noise complaints we deal as and when they occur, but yes, there will be noise. And there will be some digging, but not that much because we can't dig too much because there's the underground car park and things. So we're not going to be digging that much, but there will be noise. And it will be a long programme because we have to maintain access to these car parks rather than just blocking access to everything and doing it all.
That'll be discussed with everybody near
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. So usually they gave us a programme and they advise how they want to phase the works, and then we'll come back to you and we say this is the plan, and then you can tell us what you think of it, and then we feed that back to them. And the good thing with them is they've got their own communications person as well.
I think it's looking good. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
No, it's exciting.
It's
Yeah,
exciting.
quite
It's
exciting.
wonderful.
Even open spaces are getting excited. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leila and Melanie. And next time we'll be just about to start.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it to...
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
You've got my email anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on. And we're going to look at project updates first. Before I introduce David, we have a new assistant director, so I have a new colleague, the assistant director for property services and Barbican, to replace Karen Tarbox. So we had an interim person in place for a few months, and now we've got a permanent colleague in place. His name is Paul Murta, and he's going to come to he sends his apologies for tonight, but the next meeting he'll be here to introduce himself and answer any questions and talk to people about the plan of works. So, in the meantime, you'll remember Amy Carter, who used to come to these meetings. She's finished in that role now, and she said goodbye last time, and she introduced David Downing, who was sitting quietly observing. And so it's over to David, who's now going to talk us through the programme's works and what's happening.
Thank you, Jackie. As Jackie says, I'm David Downing. I've recently taken over from Amy Carter, so please do bear with me if I'm not quite up to speed on all the projects yet that Amy knew so well. If I start off with perhaps the most pressing and interesting one, concrete testing. The leaseholder consultation on the concrete testing is due to end tomorrow. A number of responses back from our leaseholders. They seem to be sort of focusing on 3 key areas, one of which was the perhaps excessive price of one of the bidders. I agree that bidder was excessively priced, and we will not be following up with that. The second point was to ensure that all costs were apportioned properly between the square, the estate, and the non-residential parts of the estate. I can assure you that will be the case. Tenders were priced specifically that way to ensure there's no confusion and people only get charged for what they should pay for. The third point was the general recommendation that on this tender we should accept the lowest price bidder. Without wishing to preempt the consultation which ends tomorrow, but I'll give you the indication that we will be recommending to take the lowest price on this one. We have no concerns about the quality of that bid, so that seems to be the sensible thing to do. The next stages on this one, once we get a contractor appointed, we'll get the contracts drawn up, and then we'll begin to sort of plan the programme of works. So expect to hear from us, hopefully within the next month or two. We'll be writing to every flat on the estate, letting them know who's going to be doing the work, when they're likely to be doing it, and the contact details of everyone involved should there be any problems. Any questions on concrete testing? No, that's good. I'll move on to the next one. Redecoration work on the estate. As you may recall, we've done condition surveys. We've done a resident consultation on various options for redecoration, where it was decided that we will only redecorate those areas that have been previously decorated. So what happens now, we continue with the committee of approvals, we draw up the formal specification, and then most importantly of all, we wait for the outcome of the concrete testing reports. We don't know what that's going to be in there, so we want to make sure that we don't start painting areas that are then going to be repaired with concrete. So we don't want to waste any money painting things, we'll then have to go back and redecorate later. So hopefully we can intelligently schedule these works. We might be able to do a bit of redecoration work before the concrete repairs start. Some of it might have to wait until that's finished. But we will do our best to make sure that we get value for money and that everything is programmed logically and sensibly. Any questions on redecoration? Okay, I shall move on to the next one. Balcony doors and windows on Petticate Tower. Slight delay on this one. There's a legal issue which our solicitors are looking into regarding leaseholder obligations on these windows and doors. As soon as we get that resolved, we will let you know what they tell us and how we're going to move forward. But for now, I've no news on that one. Moving on again. Electrical rewiring. This is to the landlord supply and tenanted flats only, so we won't be coming into leasehold properties. Initial consultant report has been received on these, and we're currently looking at now and drawing up various options. Something to make you aware of, it's a multi-estate programme. We've bundled the procurement and the planning together to try and save as much money as we can by bulk buying services. So as far as the programme concerns, we'll look at the various needs of each estate and programme accordingly. If the electrics in one estate are in the worst condition, we'll prioritise that. But at this point in time, we don't know until we've been through the report fully. Similar situation with heating and ventilation. We've received the consultant's report, we're currently going through that now. As soon as we have some indication of what options are available, we will let you know. Finally, lift refurbishment. This one's a little way off. Lifts in the tower is due to be refurbished financial year 2017 to 18. That's in the square 2018 to 19. So I think that's round about the 20-year mark on both those lifts. So it's come about the time they are well and truly life expired. So very early stages of planning that. As soon as I have more to tell you about that, I will let you know. Any questions?
No. David, thank you very much. Thank you. That was very clear and concise. Really good to hear. So that's great. Thank you very much. We'll let you come back next time. Okay, so moving on and keeping the theme clear and concise in mind. Let's move on to Paul for a police update on behalf of Elise, who can't be here, and then your manager's update.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Okay, Elise does send her apologies, she can't make it tonight, unfortunately, but sent me an update. So, from the 1st of January this year to the 8th of February this year, in the Port Soper Wall, we've had 15 crimes. They are, on Middlesex Street estate itself, there's one common assault, which was domestic, one public order, which was domestic, one theft of an iPhone 6 and keys from a roof of a car in the basement, door from basement to tower block was wedged open by the loser of the items, apparently for convenience, and no suspect has been traced. Criminal damage to entrance door windows on Petticoat Square, which happened quite recently. No suspect traced, no CCTV or witnesses at present. If anyone's any information that can assist them, or us, please let me know or Elise know so we can maybe identify who it was. At the moment in time, we don't know, there's no surmise. There's been criminal damage to a shed door. The door was kicked, causing criminal damage, which basically just told you the earlier part, but nothing was stolen, unfortunately. On Mansell Street, there's one common assault, unfortunately. There's also theft of cash using debit card by a known associate. After that it says detected, which I'm not sure what it means, but possibly they know who the associate is, so they're making further inquiries. In general, there's been one common assault on a bus driver, one common assault actually in Mansell Street itself, one theft from a pub, one affray in a pub, one criminal damage to a church door, and 3 drug offences detected by Operation Servitor. So all in all, 15 crimes over 5 weeks. To me it sounds a lot, but once you break it down, it's not...
normal, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see kind of populated on a bus, so on, so not too bad.
Couple of comments. One, I don't mind making a mistake, but I don't remember being sent out the contact details for Park Guard. Could you do it again?
Oh, yes. The way to contact Park Guard is through
It's
the
down to
estate
us,
office,
rather than
as it is
Well,
now.
the other estates get direct contact, because they said on their Facebook page, we were contacted by so-and-so tenant, and we went out and did something.
That only happens, well, normally all contact is through the estate office. Occasionally, when they've liaised with somebody over something, they might give them a number. They might give them a number. But we are trying to get organised. So,
Because I tried to send them the contact through Facebook and they don't accept it.
no, just email it
Yeah.
through the or drop it into
Everybody's
Paul
got
and they'll
contact.
sort it out. They'll contact you. But we are trying to sort out a number. So the city doesn't have a number for antisocial behaviour at the moment. But they do use the Weybridge number, the Weybridge team, who operate 24/7. Apparently, they use. Well, I'm not even sure what it is, but the Weybridge team operate. They're there all the time, and they provide the answering service for the noise nuisance team. So
When you
we.
say Weybridge, do you mean as in Surrey or as in...
No.
No.
Military transit
For goods and
That was the Weybridge.
So what we're trying to sort out, I think that's a part of environmental health, so we're trying to sort out that they would take any calls to Park Guard as well. So we're having some conversations about that with environmental health at the moment.
Access, now I assume there's a staff toilet open to the public, not to the public, open to staff, not inside an office somewhere on this estate.
Could you repeat the last part?
There's a toilet available to staff that's not in your office, not in the library, not in a locked room, just a toilet somewhere for staff to use.
No, the only ones I'm aware of are the ones in here, and in the guys' staff room, they in there.
Yes.
And there's a toilet where
around.
in their restroom they've got a toilet for their own use. Very good, very good, very good.
Sorry.
My email to you, Paul, regarding this strange woman walking along every balcony.
Yeah, I can come to that on my updates and I'll discuss
Oh,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So definitely, because I did say to you bring that up, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's all the police part. If you've got any further questions, let me know. I can pass them on to Elise for answer.
Why does the CCTV in the last 3 or 4 incidents not pick anything up?
There was a fault on it. It has now been rectified, but unfortunately it didn't catch that episode
Where
that
are
we
the
had with the
CCTV
doors.
cameras? They're in the lifts, they're on the entrances.
Yeah,
Yep.
Is
they're
there
in.
any others?
There's a couple in the car park.
There's a couple in the car park, yeah.
But there's nothing on the podium.
There's nothing.
But all of them, they're working or not?
They are now, yeah.
All about the police, I called many times the police. I find the guys, junkie people with the dogs inside, and inside park, by the lift, sitting there downstairs, they go downstairs. I call the police told me, give me postcode. I give postcode E17EF. They told me this belongs to Tower Hamlet. They don't City of London.
Yeah, sometimes they think it's Met, don't they? And that's something, I'll speak to Elise about that because that's something that I've heard in the past as well. Yeah.
But also we can get Park Guard to patrol. I mean, we get daily reports from them, and they are very detailed, and they are always moving people on, making sure it's. But if you let Paul know exactly what you're talking about, we can pass that on, and they can.
We did mention that many
do
times.
extra.
I did mention
Are
that.
they still only Thursday, Friday and Saturday, or?
No, I think they're more often now.
I saw him on a Wednesday.
I've had reports from
They're
them.
every day.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
more
they come
common
down
than
Saturday.
they have been previously.
Yeah, very good.
Those doors that were kicked in, which doors were kicked in? Because I know that there was the door down.
Entrance 2 and 3, so the fire entrance on Harrow Place and the entrance on Middlesex
Yeah.
Street.
And nobody
And
saw
then
the
they're going
person
to pick
doing
up.
They go to
it.
the basement.
Because
Yeah.
it was fine in the evening.
It was.
And it was fine in the morning when I went to
We've
work.
got CCTV.
Yeah, we heard that it occurred at about 9 o'clock.
Right.
And Park Guards actually discovered the damage, and it was, they contacted the police, and it was patched up
Surely the
pretty
officers
quickly.
across the road would have seen this.
You would have thought so. You would have thought so.
The noise alone.
Yeah.
No, I think they lied with actually. Paul,
But
once
the
CCTV starts
CCTV
working
didn't
well,
work on that time from inside.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Would you like me to go through my report and then we can
Yeah,
have a question answer session at the end? Is that okay? Because this might bring up more questions. Going on to your part, first of all, Michelle. The lady walking around, we believe we may know who she is,
Oh, right.
and we have gained some assistance for her that we think she may need. So we're aware, we think we're aware of who she is.
Won't
Probably,
live on this?
I can't really say at the moment in time, but
That was one of the worst experiences.
if it is the person I'm thinking of, we've got the assistance that she needs, so she's
Right.
kind of being assessed at the moment in time.
Okay.
As you may be aware, the estate team, myself, Greg and Billy, we're looking at the whole estate with a maintenance and health and safety mindset. Which will involve various inspections, possible improvements in specific areas if we can do them, tests of all doors and lifts and martial procedure notes for improving procedures where possible. So you may see new signs or new ways of working appearing around the estate over the coming months. It's not a quick fix, but it's something that we've had in mind to do for a while. Wait until the new year because we can start fresh before the new financial year starts. So there's a few things that I'd like to change on the estate and we'll be working towards doing that as well. Now, as I'm sure quite a few of you are aware, including Mr. Sassy, the car parking barrier system has failed of late a few times, which has been very frustrating. So it's been either the barrier remains down, so cars can't get in or out, or it stays up, so everyone can get in or out. This is a constant frustration, not constant, when it happens, it's frustrating for us and for Greg living here as well. And so we liaise with our technical team and my manager, Bob Jacks, to see if the system can be improved upon, so it doesn't maybe break down so regularly, and also in the future, if it is the correct system for our estate. If it is, great. If it isn't, then maybe we can look to change it in the future, should budgets allow, should people be in agreement to do so.
Something I forgot to ask later
What
was
happened? I come out at 5 o'clock in the morning and the shed, the grill, they open,
Yeah.
but the bars are still down. What do you want me to do? To lose a day?
No, exactly.
Is
So
that
that's
what
what
we
we're
asked
trying
3
to.
times?
That's what we're trying to resolve.
That's what Paul's
Yeah.
saying to Ms. Ozzy. We're not happy with it either, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a gentleman on the estate who has lost 2 to 3 days of work and he's self-employed. So that's not what we want to happen at all. We realise with him to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, yeah, if any improvements, I'll let you know on Facebook and letters and noticeables, obviously. So, as you heard from my lovely recycling ladies, we're continuing to work with a domestic recycling team to improve the recycling on the estate. So, please do work with them, because it sounds like a very good idea that Mr. Hickman brought up and will do. Also, maybe not too interesting for you, but you will see some changes in the car park on the ground floor. We're working with the recycling team and our waste collection contractors to enable recycling for the shops. Because believe it or not, no one recycles at the moment in time. It's all just general refuse, which costs our recycling contractors more money, which then passed on to the shops. They could charge them more. So we're going to do recycling for cardboard, plastics and food, which will dramatically, hopefully, reduce the cost all round for everybody.
That's good.
So that's just something that we're trying to do. Those in the tower on the 13th floor to the 23rd floor should receive a letter today if you're in flats C or D, because we've got a possible filming on the estate for a company called Wigwam Films, who's going to do a film on national equivalent called iBoy, possibly happening on the estate. We're still in discussion with them, but they want to gain access to some flats, and if they want to gain access and you're willing for them to do so, give them a call, which is on a letter, if we deliver it to you,
did it in mine, it was brilliant.
and they will give you some money for doing so as well.
£100.
And they would, yeah, but you can always bump them up if you want. So if they're like your flat, bump them up.
Is it only C and D's then?
Yes, because they need to look over a certain area. But they do want to get some flats in the square as well, and there's specific numbers that they've got. And if they go ahead with the filming, then we'll get letters out to you as well. And as you see in the tale, I did a cover letter so you know they're not just people going to the estate and trying to get in. But obviously, as you said in the letter, if anyone does come in your property, make sure you're comfortable with who they are, make sure they've got ID. If you're in any doubt who they are, give us a call beforehand. We can say if any film is happening on the estate, because we know basically everything that goes on the estate to do with filming. So just be
Michelle's
make sure
obviously a
you're safe.
happy customer.
Had it down in 2011 for
Yeah.
being called Hunted. 4 days
Yeah.
they spent in the property, they were
Yeah,
brilliant.
it's great. It's a nice little thing to do. And
Yeah.
you feel really good when you watch the programme.
Yeah, it's got it on DVD. Well, it's not murdered in the kitchen.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Another one, which a few of you may know, I'm not sure if it's happened to you, Rochelle, but certainly Mr. Hartog, we've had reports of cat faeces on the estate.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, unfortunately residents at the moment in time are unable to identify the cat or cats. If you can, please let us know where you think it's coming from, or which property, or even what the cat looks like. I know there has been some reports in the news recently that some authorities are actually doing DNA on cat faeces and the cats to find out what's happening. We're not going down that route yet. But if you have a cat, don't forget, you should have it chipped so we know whose cat it is if we should find one that gets lost, so on and so forth.
The worst thing is when you've got your door open and
biggest
they're
thing.
walking into your home.
Yeah.
Especially in the summer when you've got your French windows open and you're moving
Yeah.
from
I mean, we'd like to stop this, but unless we know where it's coming from, or
Yeah.
I did ask you
It's
to
frustrating.
review the pet policy because
Yeah.
you say cats, you have cats that can send off 75–80% of cats want to run
Absolutely.
yeah.
And they're
It's
nasty,
not
some
fair
of
to the
them.
animal, it's not The, fair to the current pet policy, I did ask you to publish, and I don't think I saw you getting around to doing it.
I thought we did. I've been
I
racking
don't
up around.
remember.
It was about June or
Yeah.
July last year, but I'll get it all out again. Yeah.
The pets policy
Yeah.
is such a difficult one. So
Yeah.
we get accused by people who want pets and say,
We all
well,
want pets, but we all
Yeah.
appreciate
But
that,
they-
you know, if we all had them, it would be ridiculous.
yes, and so allowing indoor cats, if they're meant to be indoors and they're looked after properly indoors, is a compromise to just try and please.
Yeah.
Some people, it's very, very difficult, really difficult. Because you actually can't please anybody, to be honest,
Yeah.
with something
What
like
about
that.
that man who's got downstairs, got a dog, 90 kilos, with myself, and like that? It's shot man.
Is he still having it in the car park?
Yeah, the black man, they get the black dog, they get him inside to do business in the park.
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah,
We'll have a word with him. I know
Yeah.
this dog, it's a mastiff, isn't it? It's a big
yeah, it's a
thing.
massive
Yeah.
big one, the black one.
Okay.
Oh, that's not on.
I'll have a word with that gentleman.
And yeah, if you do see a cat out and
Might be
about
able to
and
talk to
you know,
Kate about
you
that.
think you know where it comes
Yes,
from,
yeah,
let
that's a
us
good idea.
know.
Yeah. Okay, I have got one more, and then obviously this is my update and Greg's as well, so he won't be doing the second one. We've got together over the last couple of days, and this is the most kind of pleasant issues to you. More importantly, we could say, someone on the estate has been throwing objects at the shopkeepers and shop workers on the gravel lane side. So we're going on for a little while. The object's being thrown from a balcony, we believe it's the second or third, possibly fourth floor at the back, is a full carton of milk and a full can of drink, which actually hit someone on the leg.
That's not
If this hits them on the head, it will kill them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we've sent letters to everyone on that side, twice, once we knew it was happening, we got there. We've spoken to the shopkeeper, at least the local police officer's been down speaking to the shopkeeper as well. The police are now investigating thoroughly, which may result in door-to-door inquiries. And if someone's found to be guilty, it will probably affect their tenancy, whether they're leasehold or if they're tenants, because at least it's kind of looking as to what crime that is, and that could be ADH.
Yeah.
You
Could
can
be
still
bodily
get
harm,
kids.
it could be death.
You
it
still
could
get
be
kids in the summer
anything.
still throwing the balloon water
Yes, yeah,
on a
yeah.
Sunday.
That's
That's
happened to
awful.
me.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know.
No, it's not pleasant, no, but
Yeah.
obviously you don't live on the gravel lane side, I think any of you do. But
No, that's...
if you should hear anything, or you gossip, someone gossips to you,
We're in passing.
let us know. We won't say where we got it from, obviously, it's all highly confidential, but we need to find out who's doing this, because this is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Truly does.
Also, summertime, mainly summertime, that the boys had come with their water guns and they sprayed water down onto the people walking in the
Yeah.
street. So they
Yeah.
were complaining about that as well.
Again, if you know which kids are doing it, let us know. We'll go and have a door knock for the
Yeah,
parents.
and have a
and-
word with them as well. It's not a problem.
It might be fun, but not for the people getting wet.
No.
So, yeah. So that's my updates and Greg's as well. So if you've got anything, any questions, anything to add?
There's still rough sleepers. I
Yes.
reported it this morning
Yeah.
when I was going to
Yeah.
And I think I'm sure I emailed you, or maybe you, regarding, you know, the staircases that go up, that's where they sleep at the top. But in Harrow Place, especially on Sunday, you're getting groups of people sitting on the stairs, eating and drinking, and leaving all their rubbish behind. Then on Saturday
Yeah.
night, when the nice weather comes, again you're getting congregations of people with cans of beer and things, having a little party there, and it's 11, 12 o'clock at night, and it's keeping everyone awake. Why can't we put a gate there to stop people from going up the stairs and we all have a key? Because you're at the top of the stairs, you've got the door.
Yeah.
Don't have the door there, have it at the bottom. Like I blew the gate with the proper thing, no one can sit on the stairs then, and then you're stopping the rough sleepers from going up those stairs and sleeping on that little area.
Could be the same lot, couldn't it? I could look to get quotes for that and see if people
Seems
are happy
like
to
a
do it.
sensible idea.
And that would happen, yeah.
You're stopping everyone then, because it really, on a Sunday, it
We
is
won't stop
awful.
we won't stop the rush sweeper, because if it's just a single gate, they'll come round.
No, because you put the
Yeah, but you can't close those, so it's very expensive. But the point is, you can't have these people sitting there drinking, disturbing.
No,
That's the real one,
isn't it?
and that's what the gate will discourage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point is, because you've taken away all their seating elsewhere, now they've moved around
Yeah,
and found
that's
somewhere
right.
else. So you can't just squeeze.
They actually sit on the pavement sometimes in the corner of Harrow Place. The police, I actually was just about to phone them last summer, and lucky enough, the police went past and they went, you can't. They're buying their drink from the co-op, they're congregating there, they're not doing any harm, but they're making a lot of noise, playing a bit of music on their phone.
And is this particularly weekends, Michelle?
Yeah.
It is. So we'll
Friday,
also...
Saturday night.
Okay, we'll
Because
also
this is
get hot
a
cards.
no alcohol area.
That's
Yes,
right.
it's still a no
That's right.
alcohol zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll also get park guards
Yeah.
to...
I know they have moved on a few.
Yeah, well, I know that.
There's always
Yeah.
going to be a certain amount.
But if you can
because
discourage them from sitting upstairs and things like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, because the putting the gate and the fencing all the way
I
up,
know,
giving a few
it's
people,
expensive,
that's too
Yeah.
expensive. That's to be-
But then again, like
I'll get some quotes for it and see.
Sleepers as well. They have.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, it doesn't affect me a lot because my living room faces it on the street.
Yeah.
If I go to bed early, the kids are still playing football up to 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to, whenever I see them out, I've been trying to say to them that it needs to be stopping at a certain time. Park Guard have also started to ask them to stop as well, which seems to be working. It's not on every night.
Not every night, but
Yeah,
it's more prevalent this
Yeah,
year.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Because they're not allowed in the football area,
No.
so it's on the podium.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I've noticed several reports from Park
Yeah,
Guard
yeah,
where
yeah,
they've
right.
been checking and moved them on, just asked them
Yeah.
to stop now, and
It's just something we just have to keep on, really. I mean, until they get fed up with us. I mean, there's not much else we can do unless we can identify who exactly it is and get in contact with the parents. But I've seen one of the
It's
parents
the same
out there
kids,
with
I mean,
them,
I can't
so
see exactly. It's the same kids every night, surely someone must know who they are.
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, that one of the parents was actually out there with them. So if you,
Yeah.
the parents,
Oh no, we know that.
Yeah.
we can't.
And I believe in the past we have wrote to the parents on the estate who we believe have children doing this. But the difficulty on our side, and I may have this totally wrong, is how can we enforce that?
By giving them
It's-
something else. And we've said
Yeah.
this once before, this place, give them something once or twice a week to come indoors to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
Make a club, you know, put
Yeah.
snooker table, especially in the winter.
We have our city gateway. We're just
Yeah.
having some
This is
conversations
what I was
with them
thinking.
about doing some more activities to use this centre and attract them in. So we are still working with them.
Yeah,
on
because
that.
you've got a great area here
Yeah.
now, and it's on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Why not use it?
Unfortunately, you'll always have the ones that
Of
don't.
course.
They're not joiners in.
Yeah.
Joining us, and it is a problem because you can't. It's very limited amount you can do. You can ask people to stop. You know, if you can't lock an area off, and of course you can't. If it's just a wall, it's very difficult.
But it's a,
But we will
we
keep-
will constantly keep on and keep it
Yeah.
away and going on, so
Yeah.
much as we can.
I got in touch with Virgin. They're not laid the cables.
Not going
I
to
phoned
that.
them yesterday. I said, there's a large estate in the City of London. They may be interested to get rid of Sky. And they said, we haven't laid the cables. I went, I've tried for 15 years and you still haven't in the City of London laid cables. And they said no. Because
This is for supervised broadband and
Yeah.
things. But haven't you got supervised broadband, Mr.
Yeah, that's
That's
through the ordinary telephone.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
But you're talking about like
the TV,
Reading
the
media,
whole
so on,
broadband,
yeah.
everything.
channel.
It's hard.
Unless you pay extra for an extra area will be fitted.
Yeah.
But there are ways of getting between channels, that's what you want.
No, I was thinking, because my son just went from Sky, paying £130 a month, to Virgin with broadband for 72.
Yeah.
And the actual broadband is so quick because obviously it's the
It's
fibre
cables,
optic label. And yesterday, because of all the wind and that, my Sky
Yeah.
watching programme.
Yes, right.
So there's me thinking, great, this is a perfect TV, fast broadband, and half the price. How much better can it get? And if I tell you guys, then maybe other people would be interested. Get rid of the Sky dishes. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
But they're not going to
What's
lay cables, no?
these broadband speed you get?
Oh, what, him?
Yeah, you.
Oh, me, I get 17.
17?
Yeah.
Then go on to them and tell them you want super fast because it's available. I've had it for
What,
over a
from
year.
BT?
I've had it for over a year.
Right, okay.
It was upgraded here about a year ago.
To get it.
Yeah, we put advertisements out and everything.
Yeah. Broadband, I'm happy with the
Go
broadband.
on
but it
the
was-
BT site, do a search that it's available,
Yeah.
book it online, you've done it.
Okay. I do that, but it was more the price of
Yeah.
Sky
The
TV.
funny thing is, the superfast is cheaper than the ordinary. Ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'm talking about TV as well. Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're talking about
That whole
broadband.
package. It was a whole
I can
package.
see, Trudy, what is it?
Oh, yes, we're discussing the entrance in gravel lanes that I used to use quite a lot. Sometimes there are people standing around there drinking and smoking, and then they throw the rubbish around. It would be nice to have a little notice to say no food or drink consumed on this area.
It says no smoking and they still sit on the seats in the lunch hour smoking. Because I go home for lunch and I come gravel lane and I see them sitting there smoking.
Just what people do, isn't
They
it?
do.
It came off.
Yeah.
But it's normally people from the little cafe downstairs.
Yeah, and that's why the gates will stop that.
Oh, definitely look at them. isn't it?
Even Paul, the people that are in the shops that they go outside the park and they smoke there.
Outside the park.
Yeah, in the park. Ground floor park.
A car park.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the entrance?
Yes,
Yeah, I've caught a
inside.
couple of people.
Yeah, inside, not outside, inside.
Oh, yeah.
Inside,
I
and then
think
you
I think it's the food
They smoke-
outlets.
they smoke
They've got a
out.
couple of people that go
and they
out
smoke
there.
funny one as well, yeah?
Okay.
They use the back. We'll
What,
just
staff
advise them they
or-
need to be going out the front. Yeah, staff.
Their staff, so
Okay, we
they're
can
going out.
drop
Yeah,
it.
the sign
Yeah.
said no allowed to smoke. I understood you
Okay,
got to smoke.
so,
We'll do it to all shops.
We need to review a lot of the signage around the estate anyway.
Which is something that
Permanent.
we did a walkabout.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
there is a sign there, there's a sign.
Yeah, I'm going to look to do a lot of
No,
permanent
there's a
signs.
sign, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's big
No, we
one.
can do that.
well, that can be part of your health and safety
Yeah, yeah.
and so on stuff, can't it? You can be looking at where we can improve signage and put new ones up.
Do you mind if I say what I said to you when I spotted you coming earlier on? I just want to make sure that that it's kind of documented.
We looked into that as soon as you said it.
Oh, do you know what the
Yeah.
answer
Tell
is?
us what it is.
I'm sorry, what it was.
No, you explain what it was and I'll tell you the outcome.
I came home late one night a few weeks ago and there was a loud alarm going off outside the garage and I realised it was a fire alarm and there was a panel on the wall and I thought, oh, should I call the fire brigade? I went and looked on the panel and it said fire, intake 2. So I rang the fire brigade and they came out in their engine and I didn't know if they needed help, so I waited for them and they had a key and they unlocked a little box. And then one of them was saying to the other, get the map, I don't know where intake 2 is, get the map. And the other man was saying, there isn't a map.
Oh.
Now, we do have a folder in there which we are required to do. As for the map, the details should be within that folder, but we don't actually have a map per se of the estate because there's not a requirement to do that and because we don't have one. So there's too many bits and pieces on the estate for that.
On the panel on the wall, the little electrical thing was showing up the words fire, intake 2. And the fireman was saying to each other, quick, let's get to intake 2. And then they said, well, where's intake 2?
But everything that's supposed to be in there is in there, but that's something that we're looking at to see if we can put anything additional in there. To say intake 1, 2, 3.
Maybe get in touch with the fire brigade and
Funnily
ask
enough-
if it wasn't clear or something.
Funnily enough, I had a meeting today where we were talking about fire risk assessments. So the city's going to get, is commissioning a company to do fire risk assessments on all the estates, really detailed, expert fire risk assessments. And alongside that, they're going to the, I can't remember, he said the head of cartography or something in the city. He and his team are going to draw up detailed plans of each of the estates because we haven't got them everywhere. We have some, and then we've got some very old ones, and you can imagine the balcony is incredibly difficult to map. So they're actually going to put quite a lot of effort in the next few months into mapping and doing plans of each estate and all the different blocks and floors and so on, so that those premises information boxes have all those in. And I would assume, I didn't ask this morning, but I would assume we would also be able to provide them online. to the fire service as well, so that
They bring out packages.
Yeah,
which is
so as it happens, Jane, I can assure you that over the next few months that's all going to be rectified.
Yeah, I was just a bit worried about it.
Yeah.
And one other last quick thing. At the end of the ramp, you know when you go out of the door into the little lift, I said before about the little ridge that's actually by the lift. Is that something that's going to be done?
It will be,
when we went
because
across it in the wheelchair the other day, it's still tipping us up.
we reminded the repairs team, I reminded the repairs team start of last week it wasn't done. I believe they attended Thursday last week, and we went out with the contractor and said what we need here is either to screed the floor or put some kind of a rubber footing on it so that it's easy to go up, and they said yes, they're going to do it. That is still on our radar. I know it's been a long time coming, but yes, we're still aware of it, you know.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else?
The notice you sent out recently for project updates. Remember we were talking about using email communication?
Yes.
And one of the most important things that people said was that email communication should be as well as, not instead of anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul Richardson sent out a leaflet that said in future the monthly updates will only be by email or available in the library. I don't think that's acceptable.
Okay. So what we're going to do is, so they will be available on notice boards still. They'll still go on
Yeah, well, I
notice
mean the
boards.
3 out of 5 notice boards that have the room for them because they haven't put up the other 2. I don't think that's an acceptable solution for anything. You haven't got estate notice boards at every estate available to put notices up, especially 2-page notices.
Okay. Okay. So the monthly updates. Yeah.
That's what
over time, it's very expensive to hand deliver things through every door.
But you can't say you can put it on the notice board when they don't appear, and they can't appear because there's not enough notice boards.
Okay. So
very quickly,
notice
that's one of the
board
things we're
strategy.
doing. We're going to get bigger notice boards as well. Yes. That was Willie's idea because he does the notices and he gets wound up because he can't put everything in.
Good
So
idea, right? So you-
Whoever's idea it was,
It's my
that
idea.
seems like, so clearly we need to do something about the notice boards here. What we're trying to do, we are trying to, we want people really to be spending time cleaning, not spending time putting notes through people's doors that often people tell us they don't want in paper form anyway. So, and it is it's a balance. So what we've said is we've got a new module where we will be able to email things to people very, very quickly and effectively. So where we can email them to people and they can get them that way, that's what we'd like to do. And where, if somebody is housebound and they really desperately need us to drop one through their door, then of course we'll do that. We'll have copies. We'll have a copy. We can print off copies for people in the office if anybody wants to pop in and collect them, or they'll be on notice boards. So we're not trying to take things away from people. We're just trying to do things a bit more.
Well, the notice boards didn't even bother to say on the notice boards. It just said by email or in the library.
That was my fault then, because I think I worded that. So that's my mistake. I'm sorry. But yes, people can go into the library and pick one up in there, and it will go on the notice.
I wish there was a scheme for housebound people where somebody could pop round and show them how to do email and try and encourage them to sort of invest in a little computer, because a lot of housebound people are quite lonely.
Well, we have had schemes like that, haven't we? The city has run a number of schemes like that to help people get online.
Digital inclusion, wasn't it?
Yeah, digital inclusion projects to help people like that.
Seems to have been a bit quiet recently.
Yeah, I don't think that I think there was government funding for it, and
Yeah.
so it was funny. We can certainly feed that back. The city's done some research with Goldsmiths University on social isolation and people who are lonely and so on. And one of the things that said is actually if you can get people online, they have access through
It's
Skype,
like an email
through social
friend or
media.
email a family or
that's
sort of
right.
Skype with
So,
relatives.
yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, so hopefully there will be more things like that going on in the city again. Okay. Right, well thank you all
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank
patience
you.
and for
Thank you.
taking part as well.